I'm bigcal and welcome to my world. Today another recent video game pickups video featuring 11 PlayStation 2 games. So I'll try not to get this video too long, I'll try and keep it short. So we'll start first with Silent Scope, a game that I'd never heard of before. It's actually a series, it's from Konami, and it's basically like a sniper game but more of an arcadey style. It's like Time Crisis if all you did was snipe people but you didn't use a light gun, and it's actually really cool. I've had a lot of fun just playing it, just to test it and to record some game footage for it. Very cool game. Then there's Silent Scope 2, Fatal Judgment. I actually found this one a little more difficult to actually aim, but it's sequel, still pretty much the same, still very fun, and there is even a third one which I didn't know about at the time, so I didn't pick it up. I just saw these and it was cheap. A game I've been after only for a couple of months now, since I only just heard about it. Gun! Basically, think again, Red Dead Revolver I mentioned in the previous video, how the predecessor to Red Dead Redemption. That one, from what I've played of it so far, I thought it was a big open world type game. It just seems to be sort of set missions, just from what I'm doing, what I've been playing so far. This one actually feels kind of more like the real Red Dead Revolver style game. It feels more open world, again just from the little bit that I've played, but a very fun game, set in the Wild West obviously. You get to run around and shoot things. Next up is a Star Wars game, one that I technically have owned for a couple of years now, but my disc just stopped working. So I did try and get it cleaned once, because I had two other games that I wanted to get cleaned because they still worked, but they were skipping at certain points in time, so I got those cleaned up. They did a pretty good job of doing it, and I took this game in, Jedi Starfighter, to get cleaned, my original version of it, and it didn't work still, so I've just thrown it out and picked it up again. It only cost like 50p, and I'm not very good at flying style games like this, so I'm pretty bad at it, so I can't really recommend it or say if it's good or bad because I suck at it. That is for my Star Wars game collection. Next, I'm pretty sure this is a Nintendo 64 remake, Operation Winback. Very cheesy style game, cheesy shooter, and I seem to recall, I'm sure if it is the N64 game I'm thinking of, it was ahead of its time for certain mechanics and things like that. I can't really remember because I never personally played it. I just seem to recall seeing a video about it at some point. But anyway, picked it up cheap. I'm not sure if it's exactly a remake of the N64 game, if it is the game I'm thinking of, or if it's literally just been ported to the PS2, because it's horrible. It looks like shit and it plays like shit. It feels like a game that will probably control better on the weird N64 controller rather than a PS2 controller. So, yeah. I do enjoy picking up collections of old games, arcade games and things like that. I've got a few like the Midway Arcade Classics or Arcade Treasure collections, and a few others. And I picked up Intellivision Lives, the history of video gaming for the PlayStation 2 here. A bunch of, let's see, a complete library of 62 Intellivision games. And oh boy, this is awful. I mean, genuinely fucking awful. I've played a handful of games, both just testing whether the disc worked and then recording some footage, and I can't seem to get anything to do anything, really. There were certain games that you must have a second player, so those were out to start with because there's only me to try them out. And then the one player games, it comes up, tells you the controls, and then you get into the game and nothing seems to affect anything. I have absolutely no fucking idea. Terrible. Next up is a shooting game. Actually, quite a few of these you may notice are sort of third person or even first person style shooters. Not normally a genre I'm interested in, but recently, I don't know, I've just sort of had the urge to play some older ones and see if there's any hidden gems out there. This one, not exactly a hidden gem, it was actually well known at the time, and even at the time I remember wanting it, and it is Black. And I remember always hearing good things about it and seeing adverts on the TV for it, things like that. And for some reason I always thought it was an Xbox exclusive. No idea why, but it was on the PS2 as well, obviously. I don't think it came to the GameCube, it probably didn't. But, yeah, it's a first-person shooter. It seems a lot of fun. I've been going around shooting things. A couple of problems here and there with it, but mostly very fun. It was a game I've been wanting for a while, so I eventually finally picked it up. And continuing with shooters, I saw one cheap called Cold Winter. The story seems pretty generic. Some former ex-agency guy, working for another agency now. You don't know who's bad and who's good, and blah blah blah. And so far it seems very fun. I've been having a lot of fun with it. I'm only on the first mission still, I think. Possibly just at the start of the second mission, depending on how everything works out. But basically, I'm escaping a prison, and yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it so far. So I've never heard of it myself. Doesn't mean to say it isn't well known, because especially the PS2 era, there were a lot of games that passed me by because I didn't have a PS2 at the time. So anyway, Cold Winter, very cheap, and I've been enjoying it. Next up is Made Man. A mafia style game, very cheap again, very bad reviews, and from what I've played of it I can understand, because the controls are utterly fucking awful. But I knew this going in and I still bought it, and the reason for it is we have, Bill Bonanno was one of the people who helped create the story for it. Bill Bonanno is the son of Joe Bonanno, who anyone out there interested in mafia and things like that and crime will know was one of the heads of the 5 families in New York back in the day. So his son Bill Bonanno possibly even took over from his father at one point, so he definitely knows that world. So it's a game that I would struggle through with the controls just so I can sort of play through the story just to see what it's like, because it was in part written by a former major gangster. So that's Made Man. And second to last now, just picked this up again because it was cheap. I enjoyed the films, so I figured maybe the games will be fun. And this is Men in Black. Men in Black 2, Alien Escape. Doesn't follow the film story. Basically, you go around killing aliens that have escaped from a prison. Except the prison went missing like 50 years ago, and only now are the aliens there. Maybe I missed some part of the story when I first played it, but it's very weird at first because I'm so used to a shooting game. One analog stick controls your movements, the other controls the camera and things, and that's how it affects the shooting. This one is just one analog stick, you move around whichever way you're facing you shoot, and it was very, very disorientating the first time. But once I got the hang of it, it's pretty fun, just go around blasting the shit out of aliens. It doesn't seem very complicated, you just got to avoid getting killed. So that is Men in Black 2 Alien Escape. And finally, the last game. I, again, have never heard of this one, and I don't know how many people have, but I will make a claim now that it's probably one of the worst games ever made. And that's just from me playing it for 5 minutes. It is... it's just awful, and it's called Eternal Ring. And it's a first-person action RPG style game. It controls like utter fucking shite, and it plays like utter fucking shite, and it looks really bad. The lip syncing for the voice acting at the start of the game, they'll start talking without moving the mouse, and then they'll start moving the mouse, and then they'll stop talking and the mouse will continue to move. And it's really bad. At one point, when I first played it to test the disc, I was walking along a path and I walked just a bit to the right into a small pool of water. It wasn't like, you know, a huge area of water and I drowned or anything. I just stood in it and instantly died. Terrible. The controls really are bad. The first time I played it again just to test the disc worked, I could use the analog sticks, you know, one for moving and one for the camera. The second time I played it, nope, the analog sticks wouldn't work. I had to use the directional pad and then all 4 top buttons for the camera. I think it was L1 to look up and R1 to look down, and then R2 to look left and R1 to look right. That is not a good way to play the game. And you go into the control setup and it says that, you know, you can use the analog sticks can be used for this function. Couldn't get it to work the second time. It's just pure utter fucking shite. But luckily most of these games, some of them are pretty bad and some of them are very mediocre. Most of them were 25 to 50 pence each, so I'm not too bothered that some of them are shit. There were some games that interested me, they're adding to my collection, so that's what they are. So I'm Big Cal, thanks for watching and I'll see you again next time.